Hi everyone, it's Fitz with the Walk and Talk. This is me talking, not walking, here in the Veneer Family Football Complex. Chris Kleiman just held his first press conference of the spring. Actually, he's only got two, beginning and end. We'll have access to coordinators and Van Malone, associate head coach, and players throughout the spring, and some open practices as they're now officially in the new indoor full time. They've got the outdoor now completed, which wasn't completed earlier. So they've got that field adjacent to the new indoor. And there's spring break next week here in Manhattan. So they're doing the two helmets and, the shells basically where they don't have contact here before spring break. They go back and then they'll have their final 13 practices. And my friend Ryan Lackey here informs me the last week of practice they're going to have 4 full practices, which kind of replicates what you go through in the season. But of course, no spring game, which I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm fine with that. I just don't think spring games are very productive. They're not very entertaining. I like the idea of a spring gathering, and I've talked about that in the past. Not a ton of information to come out of this press conference, but some interesting things. They've got injuries again. If you recall, last year they had just a slew of injuries. They were moving snappers into defensive end spots and anything they could do to replicate enough for practice. And this year, he said the issues are really tight ends and defensive ends. Ben Sennett is out. Other guys are out. So there's an opportunity there for young guys to step up. Trayshawn Ward, the running back transfer from Florida State, is out for now. Hopefully he'll be available later in the spring. DJ Giddens, who might be the starter at that spot, is also out as this team's taking care of a lot of off-season stuff. They're pretty beaten up by the end of the year. So it's interesting to see the volume of surgeries going on. The things that jumped out at me were, the quarterbacks are all here. The entire crew with Avery Johnson on campus for the spring. If you saw a photo of him online, it looks like he's put a little beef on, that Avery's gotten a little bit bigger, which I think we all recognize is something Avery really needs to do, that his size at the high school level wouldn't get him through maybe one Big 12 game, let alone a season. And he's got a full year to do that. If he does indeed redshirt. But all the other quarterbacks are healthy and ready to go. They've got some depth at receiver position coming back with Seth Porter and others coming back. So it's just fascinating to me that they're good in some positions and others they're not. And of course, I think we all agree that the one guy we're really surprised did come back was Daniel Green at linebacker. When we spoke to him in New Orleans after the game, I think I even said this, there's no way he's coming back. And I think everyone felt that way, and he has come back. And that's just a really important item for this team. But really, things won't heat up in terms of spring football until after spring break. And that's good for the media because we get a chance to kind of focus here on Big 12 basketball this week and NCAA tournament, at least next week, if not more weeks after that. So we'll have a lot more in-depth conversations about what's going on in spring football. But of course, if you're looking for a storyline on the offense side of the ball, it's the fact that K-State returns everyone on that offensive line due to the guys deciding to come back. Cooper Beebe not going to the pros. Taylor Portier is ahead of schedule from what he was last year after his back-to-back years of knee injuries. Hopefully he's out of knee injuries. He doesn't have any more to injure, and they fixed it up. And it's going to be fascinating to watch the competitiveness, including young guys who weren't in the starting lineup last year, and see where they end up in terms of who is the starters and what is the rotation. But the theme of that from the offensive linemen that were here, Hayden Gillum in particular, is they love playing for Conor Riley. He's demanding. He gets after him, but they enjoy that and like him for it. And it's going to be a very interesting offseason because they might get back into the portal to shore up some positions, but they're maxed out on scholarships right now, which is a great problem to have. But as we know, in the transfer portal era, there'd be another opening of the portal that someone might depart the program at that point. And, we saw this week Jack Stanine has left the program and is in the portal. That doesn't surprise any of us. And Coach Kleiman addressed it in saying, we're just not using the same personnel we were with Colin Klein as offensive coordinator. So just less true fullbacks in the program are needed and more of the combo fullback, H-back, tight end type of guy. That's it with this sit on my butt and talk. Appreciate you watching. We'll have coverage from Kansas City coming up for the Big 12 tournament. Walk and talks after the games. Might be me, might be our guy Ryan Gilbert, but you will have complete coverage from Kansas City as we turn our attention back to K-State basketball for the rest of the week.